What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are having a good day. Battlefield 6 is returning with its Labs playtest. So if you're unaware what the Labs playtest is for the Battlefield series, it's a closed testing stage of the game. And this is primarily used to kind of test things for the game before it comes out to, the main branch. And the main thing about this is that, although it's a closed test for the game, they're actually open for what they're, testing and stuff. They explain what they're going over. People are able to somewhat talk about it, not all the time. A lot of stuff is under, contract where you can't talk about it until certain things are released until later on. But, other than that, a lot of people like the labs. I've enjoyed labs. Battlefield 4 had labs for a lot of the newer maps that they were releasing. And I've never been part of labs myself, but, if I ever got the invite to go in, I would 100% try out a lot of the stuff that they're offering. But this is a chance for them to work on their work in progress stuff. A lot of stuff that people, get to play with in the labs is very not final product worthy, and it's going to be pretty rough. Either way, like, they need these kind of tests so they can make the product actually decent. And they're going over a lot of things. They're going over, stuff like a server browser. They're going over all sorts of other stuff. They're going over a lot of portal stuff. They'll open up the portal so people can get a chance to mess with that. They're going to also go over, a lot of the combined arms testing. They're going to go over the bigger maps, and we get a little sneak peek of some of the bigger maps, including Murak Valley, which is, I believe, is the largest map in the game. And they're also going to be testing settings for the hardcore mode, which I've always been a kind of a fan of hardcore in Call of Duty, Battlefield, just any game that it offers. I've always enjoyed kind of a faster TTK, and I enjoy games like Insurgency Sandstorm and Escape from Tarkov, where sometimes it might take just one bullet to kill you. But before we get into that, make sure you guys leave a like on the video and hit that sub button if you're new, because we are on the way to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to try to hit 1K before the end of the year. So if you're willing to put up with me and listen to all the FPS news that I cover Call of Duty, Battlefield. I'll cover pretty much anything that's out there, that is newsworthy to me. And I'm just going to speak the truth and give you guys what my opinion is. And I just hope you guys stick around. So let's get back into it. I think it's really good that Battlefield is doing these labs playtests, because it really gives them a chance to refine everything before the launch of the game. And even if the game launches and a certain feature isn't 100% ready to go, they still have the player base on their labs to where they can continue to, give feedback and playtest these things that don't often get, full coverage, because it's not even just within a dev team anymore, right? You're getting real people in real situations, playing the game in a fluent manner, to where you're getting kind of a genuine feedback loop for these types of situations, right? You're not going to bring in people from outside of your dev team and then they're going to just like glaze over the game, right? They're looking for critical feedback. And, a lot of the people that get invited to the labs, like, they could just be normal everyday people like me and you. They could be content creators. They can be just the most random person pulled off the street that's got an internet connection and a computer. And, I believe this is only for PC. I think Labs always been on PC, so it won't be on console. But they just released a PC trailer for the game, and I just gotta say that the trailer looked absolutely fantastic. And it's also really funny that within 1 hour, that trailer already had more likes than the Black Ops 7 reveal trailer, which is just so funny. The hype for this game is absolutely absurd. There's so many people ready to get back into Battlefield in October. I think Call of Duty is just completely down in the dumps at this point. They are trying their absolute best to bring people back into the series, and it's just not going to work this year. I don't think it's going to work at all. I believe DICE and EA are going to pull out all of the stops, everything possible, to just keep kicking Call of Duty while it's down. And they are very much down. Their pre-order numbers are in the dirt. They are not going to be happy with what they're making this year, because nobody's buying their game, right? Everyone's fed up with Call of Duty, and Battlefield is now slotting into that FPS, that casual FPS slot. And Call of Duty's been more of a competitive shooter. Their skill-based matchmaking has made the game turn into a complete sweat fest where you can't even enjoy yourself for more than like a couple games. Even for MW2 and MW 2019, I only found myself playing like a couple games every now and then, and even then I'd get on and you could just feel the skill-based matchmaking, or the EOMM, or whatever you want to call it, just kind of mingling in. You could tell that algorithm was trying its best to fix the game into just the worst possible condition for you. And then, right when you're like, man, I don't feel like playing this game, they give you an easy game. You don't have to deal with that in Battlefield. They have to bring in 32 players from each side. And now that there's a server browser and it looks just like the one from all the older games like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, you see the server that you like, you see the settings that you like, and you can join whichever one you want. They're giving the power to the player, and it's just refreshing. It's nice to be able to experience a game that actually cares about your feedback. You know, Call of Duty for years has been ignoring everything that people have been saying, no matter what it is. You know, people complain about skill-based matchmaking, they complain about the store, they complain about the skins, they complain about the servers, and they complain about the price of everything in the game, and yet we're too big to fail, so they ignore you. They don't care about what you're saying, and at this point, people complain enough, and now we're walking away from the series. My last video, I talked about how Call of Duty players are now just leaving in droves. You know, even the Call of Duty subreddit had a big announcement where they were saying, you know, we're not putting up with this anymore, right? They're tired of it. Call of Duty has turned all of its fans against it, and Battlefield is coming out and they're like, hey, we're just going to take everything from all of our best games, even the parts that some people may not have liked and might have failed in the past, and we're making them better. We're making all of our stuff better. We're making the game as fun as possible, and the beta showed it. They had so many people in the beta coming in, and just, you know, everything surrounding that game was just fun. Like, Call of Duty tries to make their game for everybody. They're trying to appease the zombies fans, the campaign fans. They're trying to appease the multiplayer fans, and they're really trying to appease the Warzone fans, because that's what made them the most money, and that's what brought in the most players with the free-to-play Battle Royale. And they've just milked that cow for the last 6 years, and that's running dry. It's so dry that at this point, right, it's basically powder excreting out of this thing, and it's not working anymore. People are fed up with it. You can't just throw the same crap at people every year and expect everyone to be happy with it. That's why I'm hoping that Battlefield kind of listens to the main feedback that I see a lot of people saying, you know, don't go with that yearly release, right? I talked about in my leak video a couple, weeks ago at this point, that they were trying to go for an annual release, right? Within like the next couple years, Battlefield wants to go for an annual release, and I don't think that's a good idea at all. That's my main feedback for the game. The game was fun, it looked good, it sounded good, no performance issues, no nothing. But if you start releasing your game year after year and keep releasing everything with the same Battle Royale and the same multiplayer with just a different coat of paint, people are going to get tired of your game pretty quick, right? Call of Duty's been doing that for years, but Battlefield's always had this gap. There's always been a gap between the games. So when a new one comes out, it's fresh and new. And I guess the only exception to that was Battlefield 2042, but that's because they went for some like operator style. They tried copying Call of Duty down to the wire, and obviously that didn't work out for them. The player base fell off a cliff. But if anything's going to show the hype for Battlefield 6, it is Battlefield 2042. They had a free battle pass with a couple cosmetics for Battlefield 6 that were unlockable in it, and the player base has exploded on that game. They have now more players than Call of Duty normally gets, and they're encompassing Black Ops 6, Warzone. I believe they still have MW2 in there, but they're encompassing at least 3 games underneath that umbrella, and they're losing to Battlefield 2042 of all games because people just want the cosmetics for Battlefield 6. Like, that's how crazy it is now. Again, I think this, Battlefield Labs is a really good addition. I think for PC, if you're on PC, I implore you to go, to the community update link. I'll put that link down in the description, and they have a little spot to where you can sign up for the labs. It doesn't hurt to give it a try. Go in, see if you can get in, and just give feedback to these devs, because that's what they're asking for, and they actually listen. They'll go through and actually put in a lot of the they'll take your feedback, and then you more than likely probably implement it, as long as it's not outlandish. It's not these streamers going around talking about how they want the game to be Call of Duty anymore, right? If you're a fan of Battlefield, and you're on PC, may as well give it a try. Go ahead and jump into that link in the description and find your way and sign up for the Battlefield Labs, because at this point, we just want the game to be the best possible game that it can be. We want Battlefield 6 to be the best it is, and it's already really good as is, but if it can be even better, why not keep going? Anyway, that's all I got for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. What do you think about the Battlefield Labs testing? Are you guys excited for it? Do you think it'll work out really well for it? Just let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, I got more coming on the way. Hope you guys enjoyed.